Hello and a very warm welcome to a brand new edition of World Panorama with me, Frank Pereira. Let's bring you up to date first up with all the latest headlines. Ukrainian rebels admit thousands of Russian soldiers are fighting India ranks. World community demands action against Russia. Syrian rebels surround Filipino UN peacekeepers in Golan Heights. This after 43 Fijian soldiers taken hostage by Islamic State militants, troops deployed in response to kidnapping. Pakistani army chief intervenes in political standoff. Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif distances himself from the move. And Manchester United suffer humiliating defeat at the hands of a third division side. Red Devils knocked out of the League Cup in the second round. Let's begin with our top focus this week. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Friday accused Ukrainian forces of behaving like Nazis in the country's eastern region. This came after Barack Obama accused Russia of sending troops into Ukraine, a point that was reiterated by the United Nations and the NATO as well. Here's a report.
Moscow is increasingly getting isolated on Ukraine. On Friday, US President Barack Obama accused it of sending troops and intensifying violence in Ukraine. However, he ruled out any military intervention.
The separatists are backed, trained, armed, financed by Russia. Throughout this process, we've seen deep Russian involvement in everything that they've done.
Obama said he will reaffirm the US commitment to Ukraine when President Petro Poroshenko visits the White House in September. Obama's comments came after photographs showed Russian soldiers and Russian weapons in action in a renewed offensive against Ukrainian troops. Many other world leaders also condemned Russia's role in the region. An emergency meeting of the UN Security Council also echoed similar sentiments. However, Russia denied the charge.
It seems that Russia is now stepping out of the shadows and overtly trying to achieve its objects of domination in Ukraine, and it is completely, absolutely and utterly unacceptable.
We possess numerous evidences, including photo, video proofs, and now detained Russian soldiers, as well as Russian battle armored vehicles and tanks, with all documentation proving their belonging to Russian military forces, which leaves absolutely no doubt about Russian direct invasion into Ukraine.
Обвинения звучат не первый раз. Нас практически с самого начала кризиса обвиняют в том, что мы во всем виноваты. Так что различные домыслы слышим не впервые, при этом нам ни разу не предъявили факты.
NATO said it will respect any Ukrainian decision on security after its prime minister said he was putting the country on course for NATO membership.
Russian troops and equipment have illegally crossed the border into eastern and southeastern Ukraine. This is not an isolated action, but part of a dangerous pattern over many months to destabilize Ukraine as a sovereign nation.
Ukrainian fighters are engaged in a fight for survival in Ilovaisk for over a week against pro-Russian rebel counter-offensive. Russian President Vladimir Putin added fuel to the fire by supporting the separatists, calling them defenders of New Russia, and comparing their siege of Donetsk and Luhansk to the siege of Leningrad in World War II.
И малые населенные пункты, и крупные города окружены украинской армией, которая прямой наводкой наносит удары по жилым кварталам с целью разрушить инфраструктуру.
Last week, Russia sent into eastern Ukraine a convoy of more than 200 lorries carrying tons of aid without the permission of Kiev and without Red Cross monitors. The unilateral move was condemned by Kiev and the West, who were concerned that an attack on the convoy might become a pretext for Russia to send in troops.
And joining me on the show this week is former Ambassador Ajai Malhotra to talk about what's happening in Ukraine and what it means as far as the world is concerned. Welcome to the show, Ambassador. Ambassador, let's talk about the situation in Ukraine now. I mean, the entire situation is precariously poised, isn't it? On one hand, you have the US who are blaming the Russians for everything that's happening in Ukraine. On the other hand, you have Vladimir Putin, who remains defiant. And it's a show of strength for him as well, isn't it?
I think it is for both sides. This is only the beginning, I think, of a larger game of chess. And there will be some pushing and shoving from both sides. We are yet to see the end of this crisis.
We're not likely to see the end. Yes, it is some way off.
This is really the beginning of the chess match, as one would to say. And for the Ukrainians, they don't have much choice at the moment. President Petroshenko has made it clear in his campaign, in his election campaign, that he would be pushing out the terrorists or the separatists and making sure that the entire country is one in his, as molded to his liking. For the Russians also this has great importance. Not only President Putin, but from before, I think from when the Russian state came into existence after the breakup of the Soviet Union, they've been clear that they would not like to see these countries coming into the fold of NATO.
Yes.
And that is what seems to be happening. And therefore, that is an important red line that the Russians drew a long time ago, which is now being crossed. Till maybe November last year, it wasn't so, because the then Ukrainian president had made it clear that he was thinking of then joining in with the Russians in an economic union.
Yes.
But that has all now changed. The new dispensation and the new situation, I think matters will get worse before they improve.
Okay.
And that is where we're heading at the moment.
Okay, that's where we are heading, and it's unfortunate that we are heading in that particular direction. But let's talk about some of these sanctions and these things that have happened in the past. Are we going to see much more of it? I mean, the US and the West slapped quite a few sanctions on Russia. Russia then, sent in feelers and slapped their own set of sanctions. Of course, the Russians could have gone one step further and had sanctions on their gas supplies. They did not actually do that, but they sent out a message at least by stopping, by putting in sanctions as far as food is concerned.
You're absolutely correct. I think the Americans and the Europeans, acting in consort with them, were moving very slowly initially, because the first set of sanctions, as you recall, were when Crimea broke away and joined the Russian Federation. Yes. And those were limited to naming particular persons and saying visas will be denied to them, and then later naming particular organizations and saying there will be strictures passed against them. Thereafter, this was expanded when the situation in Ukraine got worse, and you have sanctions now on defense, on energy and financial institutions. Yes. But these two have been very selectively chosen so as not to harm themselves.
Yeah.
If you see in the defense field, you have the United Shipbuilding Corporation, and that their investments in the West will be taken over. But they have no investments in the West. As regards banks, not all banks have been named. Again, it has been done selectively. As regards defense, again, it's a step by step. They have, for example, not said that existing contracts will be put a full stop to, but new contracts will not be entered into. So this will, I think, get intensified since the situation is deteriorating at the moment. This sanctions and counter sanctions, and now the ban that the Russians put in turn, and I think this will also hurt. It'll hurt both sides. It'll hurt the world economy.
Yes, it will.
The ban on food will hurt for sure Poland, countries
Canada,
like, in Europe, let's see, the main focus has been Europe, the return sanctions, trying to break the unity amongst Europeans to side with the Americans.
Yes.
It'll affect, for example, Netherlands, Germany. It'll affect, the Baltics will be affected.
Yes.
They depend completely on Russia for their energy. And for their exports also, they have quite a bit going on with the Russians. So, and these can be strengthened. As you said, both sides were careful. The Europeans didn't say that we'll stop buying energy from you.
Yes.
They need that energy.
Yes, they need that
energy. And it is expected there will be a particularly cold winter this year. And the Russians also didn't do so. The Russians have also not said, for example, that we will not buy your cars from Germany or France, or, and they are big importers of cars. The Russian auto market is the second largest after the EU. So everyone is being a little careful, not wanting to escalate it. The Russians have also very clearly said that they are not in favor of a spiraling escalation.
Yes. But what seems to have changed, especially this week, is the fact that, you have a pro-Russian rebel who's a leader has come out and said, there are Russians who are fighting in our ranks, and Vladimir Putin has come out openly and supported the rebels this time around. That's what's changed significantly over the last few months, I would say.
Well, the Russian comment was by Zakharchenko, the opposition leader, was that they're Russian volunteers who are fighting in our ranks. Even Putin has come out, he has not said that we have to move towards a more warlike situation or that he's giving up on peaceful dialogue as a way to sorting out this issue. In fact, even till now, the Russians are very clear that if you can do 2 or 3 things, you may have a peaceful solution yet. I think the trigger is you now have elections coming up to the Ukrainian Rada, the Ukrainian parliament, and that will have a role to play. Now you would have to see that they get enough seats in the parliament. You see, the voting will be largely on geographical and regional line because the divide is such.
Yes.
The linguistic divide, the regional, and even industry-wise, if you see, the heavy industries in the east, the tourism, etc., is in the west. The Russian speakers in the east, the Ukrainian speakers in the west. Culturally also, you'll find, because part of the western parts of Ukraine were parts of other countries. If you go back some decades or centuries back, for example, parts of Poland, Czech, Slovak republics, etc., Romania, etc. So they do not have a Russian or Slav orientation as the rest of Ukraine.
Right.
And so these are important facets. And now when the elections come up to the Rada, I think how that Rada will be formed and what percentage on which side will determine how this all progresses further. And that is important because, you see, the Ukrainian president cannot have his way with the Russians.
Yes.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
In a one-on-one situation, it's a no contest.
Yes.
And equally, as President Obama has made it clear, neither USA nor NATO nor, forget it, France or UK will come and pick a fight out there.
Yeah.
So the Russians are quite confident of that. Now these allegations that some troops or some forces have moved in and taken over Novozovsk, the port on the Black Sea, this is also really positioning because you know
it is
that
nothing but posturing, is it?
It is taking over and being in a better position to negotiate.
Indeed.
And that's what's going on.
All right, we'll have to wrap this particular segment. I'm going to request you to continue staying with us because we're going to need your inputs on the next story that we're going to talk about as well. And that, of course, is the Syrian rebels and UN peacekeepers are engaged in a standoff as far as Syria is concerned. There have been several issues that have taken place as far as Syria is concerned, and these particular people have been in a standoff in the Golan Heights. Now, with 43 peacekeepers in captivity, efforts are on to resolve the situation peacefully there, and the rebels are demanding that they surrender their firearms, but the peacekeepers say that they are ready to fight back. Here's the latest on what's happening in Syria.
Israeli army soldiers were monitoring the Golan Heights in Syria on Friday, a day after militants detained 43 United Nations peacekeepers and trapped 81 more. The peacekeepers are from Philippines and Fiji. Militants are asking them to surrender, but haven't yet resorted to a firefight. The UN forces say they're well equipped to fight back.
The standoff stemmed from the demands of the rebels for us to surrender our firearms. So right now, we have still encamped in our positions, and that we will not heed to their demands, and that we want to assure everyone that the protection of our troops is a priority for our government, and that all efforts are being made in order that their safety and security will be ensured.
UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon called for an immediate release of the peacekeepers. Leaders in both Fiji and Philippines sought to calm fears and said talks were underway to secure their freedom.
The members of the Security Council demanded the unconditional and immediate release of all of the detained United Nations peacekeepers and called upon all parties to cooperate with UNDOF in good faith to enable it to operate freely and to ensure full security of its personnel. They called upon countries with influence to strongly convey to the armed members of the opposition in the UNDOF area of operation to immediately release the peacekeepers.
It hasn't changed. The standoff is still there. We are hopeful that the negotiations will give a peaceful resolution to them.
The UN troops were abducted during clashes between the Syrian rebels and the Israeli troops in Golan Heights. They were defending 2 posts on the Syrian side. The Philippines announced on Saturday that it would pull out of the peace forces because of security concerns. Austria, Japan and Croatia have all pulled off their troops from the region.
Ambassador Malhotra, let's talk about the situation in Syria now. Syria and Iraq, let's take it as a whole, because, a lot has been happening there over the last 2 months or so. And what's alarmed everyone is the rapid pace at which the, Islamic State militants have been progressing there. And several people have tried to go in there and try and stop them, but that really hasn't happened. They defeated the Kurds first, and that's what, alarmed the entire world. That's when Obama and the American administration decided to do something about it and started the airstrikes in Israel. But right now, of course, Obama seems to be undecided as far as Syria is concerned. How do you see it going then? What do you see happening in Syria over the next few months or the next few weeks?
Well, let's not forget that these are highly motivated terrorists. The Islamic State that has come about up there really has a couple of major towns, but a vast expanse of territory. And it is serving as a magnet or a suction to draw in people with a similar inclination or similar disposition as the terrorists operating up there. Certainly, this is not at all helpful to the situation. This is something that many feared might happen when a sort of vacuum was being created, when some countries were aligning themselves to get President Assad out of Syria. And unfortunately, this is how things have developed. The situation on the Golan Heights is one example. In fact, till now, the Golan Heights were very, very peaceful. With all this skirmishing and shooting and terrorism, etc. going on. And as you rightly said, the Islamic State forces went up and even gave a tough time to the Kurds.
Yes.
And if not for US intervention from the air, admittedly, it could have been a different progression that could have been taking place right now. But even on the Golan Heights now, you find that they've come up to the very border with Israel.
Yes, they have.
And Israel has been holding on to that little plot of land on the Golan Heights simply to make sure that nobody from the top up there holding those high points is able to kind of lob in maybe not very high, technically, high-powered, ammunition or missiles, but just to make sure that it can protect itself. If you see, the role of the UN peacekeepers is to keep the peace. They are supposed to observe, report back, monitor, etc. They are not peacemakers in the sense they are not supposed to go out there and get into a fight and resolve the situation as they see it in front of them. The Fijian forces put their hands up, but the Filipinos decided that they were enough in numbers.
Back,
and they said we will fight back because they don't know under what situation they might be held hostage, and seeing all that has been done by the vicious terrorists, which is what really the Islamic State supporters are. They probably did not want to get involved, and you must not also forget that most of them are likely to be, for example, Catholics, etc., and of a different religion, and felt that they may be held hostage for a longer period. But this is causing a situation on which the entire world has quickly rallied around. You see, unlike in the Ukraine case, up here very quickly you have a very clear UN Security Council resolution which says that immediate action should be taken. The UN Secretary General has spoken up also. And so there are things that are to be done which the entire world community will have to do together. But I think it will be, as the message said, any country which has influence. That means whether it's Saudi Arabia, Qatar, I doubt if Iran would have influence, but whoever else might have influence on the situation there is being called upon to make sure.
Egypt has done quite a bit. As far as Iraq is concerned, well, not really Iraq, but not in this. But
the Islamic State, I'd say it's really the Saudis who have some influence out there, who can try and rein them in. And the Qataris because they have the money. So those would be the two powers. Beyond that, I don't think they're in a situation where they want to bomb them from the skies because they are the Fijians who are held hostage. And you do not want to take that risk because that will be the end of peacekeeping after that.
All right, we'll have to leave it at that. Ambassador Malhotra, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your views and perspectives on both those very crucial topics. On that note, we'll slip into a short break now. But on the other side, we'll bring you up to date on the latest political crisis in Pakistan. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. Well, in an attempt to put an end to the anti-government protests, the Pakistan Army on Friday decided to play the role of a mediator. Opposition leaders agreed to negotiations with the army to find a way out of the turmoil in the next 24 hours. The protests, led by cleric Tahir-ul-Qadri and Imran Khan, are against the Nawaz Sharif government, which faces allegations of rigging in the 2013 elections. Here's more.
After a fortnight of anti-government protests, Pakistan may see an end to the political turmoil that has gripped the national capital. On Friday, the Pakistani army decided to step in to negotiate with the Nawaz Sharif government and the protesters. Opposition leader Imran Khan and cleric Tahir-ul-Qadri, who remained firm on their demands of Nawaz Sharif's resignation, welcomed the army's intervention and agreed to negotiations.
मैं आर्मी चीफ को और पाक फौज का बतौर इंस्टीट्यूशन शुक्रिया अदा करता हूं कि वो इसके पुरअमन हल के लिए उन्होंने अपने आप को पेश कर दिया है। तारीख में ऐसा एक वाकया मुझे याद नहीं है, अगर आपको याद हो, तारीख में याद नहीं है कि कोई अवामी ताकत आए और वाकई हुकूमत से टकराए और पाक फौज ऑफिशियली सालिस और साबिन बनने के लिए मैदान में आया। मैं जाके मुज़ाकरात करूंगा और इंशाल्लाह कल यह जश्न बनेगा और यह फिर तहरीक एक और रुख ले जाएगी।
Army Chief General Raheel Sharif has asked them to give him 24 hours to solve the crisis. The army is expected to put together a package of the protesters' demands and ensure implementation. The army chief had met Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif on Tuesday, triggering speculation of the government and army being hand in glove. However, Sharif denied that his government invited army to solve the crisis.
ये किसी किस्म का सालसी का किरदार ना फौज ने मांगा है, ना हमने कोई दरखास्त की है। ये पता नहीं कहाँ कैसे छप गया, क्यों छप गया, और आप जानते हैं जो ये बाहर मजमा लगा के बैठे हुए हैं, वो रोज़ कितने सच बोलते हैं और कितने झूठ बोलते हैं। अगर उनकी ज़ुबान से ये कहा गया है तो फिर आप जान लें कि इसके अंदर जो है वो कितनी सच्चाई है और कितना झूठ है।
Pakistan police met a key demand of the protesters by registering a murder case into the killing of 14 activists at a protest in June. But Qadri dismissed the move, saying the wording of the document was not satisfactory.
ये जो FIR है, आज तक मैंने अपनी 37 साल की हिस्ट्री में पहली FIR देखी है जिसमें अपहेल्ड ऑर्डर की बजाय dismissal order के पसंद के पैराग्राफों को हिस्सा बनाया जाता है। ये मजाक है कौम के साथ।
Meanwhile, thousands of protesters remain camped in Islamabad's red zone. For the last 2 weeks, they have been demanding Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's resignation over alleged rigging in the 2013 polls, which brought him back to power.
Well, much else has been unfolding around the world. Here's a quick wrap of the other international news of the week.
French President François Hollande named a new cabinet under Prime Minister Manuel Valls after dropping the ministers who rebelled against austerity cuts. The previous government was disbanded on Monday after a row with the economy minister. Valls said he now wants no more division within his post-reshuffle cabinet. Kurdish President Masoud Barzani said Iran supplied weapons and ammunition to Iraqi Kurdish forces. Iranian Foreign Minister acknowledged the military assistance but said it has no military presence in Iraq. Meanwhile, at least 12 people were killed on Tuesday after a car bomb exploded in a Shiite district of Baghdad. Police say the death toll from the attack was expected to rise. 3 crew members of a UN peacekeeping force helicopter in South Sudan were killed on Tuesday after their aircraft crashed on a routine cargo flight near Bentiu. A 4th crew member is being treated for injuries. Unconfirmed reports say the plane was shot down, but UN says the investigation is on to know the cause of the crash.
Well, let's now bring you up to date with what's happening in the world of sports. Here's our sports wrap.
Manchester United suffered one of the most humiliating defeats in their history as MK Dons piled yet another misery on Louis van Gaal. The new United boss, now without a win in 3 matches, watched on in misery as his team was knocked out of the Capital One Cup at the second round stage with a 4-0 defeat. 4-time winners United did not register a shot on target until the 72nd minute against the team who were only founded in 2004. England midfielder Frank Lampard announced his retirement from international football on Tuesday after a career spanning 15 years. The 36-year-old's 106th and final cap for his country came on June 23rd when he captained England in their final World Cup game against Costa Rica. Chelsea's all-time top goal scorer left the Premier League club after 13 years last month, signing for Major League side New York City Football Club. Hunter Mahan stormed clear of a congested leaderboard with 5 birdies in the last 8 holes to claim his 6th PGA Tour victory by 2 shots at the US PGA Barclays Championship. Mahan, who had not taken a title since the 2012 Houston Open, birdied the 15th, 16th and 17th holes to seize a 3-stroke lead. Then sank a clutch 8-foot bogey putt at 18 to claim the first event in the US Tour's season-ending playoffs.
Well, let's now bring you up to date with what's happening in the world of entertainment. Here's our entertainment wrap.
Robin Williams had donated his beloved Pereira bicycle to a charity auction only weeks before he committed suicide. The 63-year-old actor gave the handmade bike to Drever Family Foundation, a private charitable organization which aims to improve life for young people by supporting education and arts, as he dearly supported the cause. The bike managed to raise a little above £12,000 at the gala's live auction during the foundation's annual hotbed benefit, which the Mrs. Doubtfire star had reportedly planned to attend. AMC's Breaking Bad and ABC's Modern Family ruled at the 66th Emmy Awards with 5 awards and 3 awards respectively. Breaking Bad grabbed the Best Drama Series, Bryan Cranston for Best Lead Actor in a Drama Series, Aaron Paul for Best Supporting Actor in a Drama Series, and Anna Gunn for Best Supporting Actress in a Drama Series, whereas Modern Family won the Best Comedy Series Award. Juliana Margulies won the Best Actress Award in a Drama Series for her role in The Good Wife, and Jim Parsons picked up the Best Actor Award in the Comedy Series for The Big Bang Theory. Kim Kardashian will be making a guest appearance in the upcoming season premiere of Two Broke Girls. The 33-year-old reality star took to Twitter to share the news that she had already filmed the scenes with the lead actors Kat Dennings and Beth Burrs and couldn't wait for it to air. The episode's plot would have a TV producer who approaches characters Max and Caroline to shoot an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians in front of their cupcake window.
That's it in this edition of the Bulletin, but I'll leave you with Victory Day celebrations at the Turkish Embassy and a message from the Ambassador of Turkey. Enjoy, and I'll see you again same time, same place next week.
Every nation's history, there are important dates, and basically this one is about the success of our War of Liberation, and we're celebrating this year as Army Day every year. And the embassies around the world, Turkish embassies, organize receptions to that effect. It's a celebration, but it's also, opportunity to get together with our friends and colleagues from India and from the diplomatic corps. And we're trying to make the best use of this opportunity to reconnect and rejoice.